Welcome back for another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Find us on facebook.com/superfunpodcast, twitter.com/superfunpodcast, patreon.com/superfunpodcast, Instagram @superfunpodcastgo, iTunes @Superfun Game Review Podcast Go. Thanks and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast. Go! To my left this evening, Mr. Ralph.
I bought this game on the Switch so I could play it outside.
Yikes. Oh, man. To my right, Mr. Clark.
Tetsuo!
And I'll be your host this evening. Pretty dark in here. All right, so are we going to do...
What the fuck?
What the fuck? For 3 hours, they chased a mute. So we are reviewing Inside tonight, which was one of our poll games.
Yes, we're inside tonight.
Oh, good to know.
This is the beginning of many inside pun jokes.
There's gonna be a lot tonight.
Inside puns.
Why is that? Why are we joking about being inside? Oh, we're
reviewing Inside the Game.
Oh, God.
What are we inside the game, though?
We're inside something at some point in this game.
We're inside a few things.
Yeah.
Several things.
Like your mother. Anyway, so let's talk about game development.
Game development.
I know it was done by an indie studio, and it's pretty much been released on every platform.
Playdead.
Yeah, Playdead. They're the makers of Limbo, which is a fantastic game.
Never played that one. You, Harry?
Neither have I. I've always had an interest in it, though.
Limbo is actually really cool. If you liked this, I would suggest picking up Limbo.
That makes sense.
They reference this as the spiritual successor to Limbo. And they actually
That
started
makes sense.
a couple months after Limbo was released. Well, I do know, like, almost immediately after they released Limbo, boom, they started working on this project.
Right.
Really no downtime in between projects.
Yeah.
Limbo came out in 2010.
2010. Okay.
All right.
But this came out in 2016, correct?
Yes, it actually came out on the Xbone first.
I do know, specifically for this game, I forget the name of it, but they created their own filter for the game to give it a distinct look.
It has a very distinct look. Very
Yes.
stylized, obviously.
And their filter has to do specifically with like the lighting effects and the shadows.
It's oddly detailed for such a simple-looking game. Putting that graphics engine to work.
So before this game was named, it was named Project 2.
Project 2.
I like that. Like they
Fair
couldn't
enough.
come up with an original title.
Dos.
Project 2. Let's hop into story. Or let's
Plop.
swing into story.
Okay, we'll
or
swing.
let's climb over the cage into story.
Let's open the door into story.
Or let's jump into that mass with arms and legs.
Swim into story.
Yeah, swim into story.
Let's jump and break our legs into story.
Let's get shattered to 1,000 pieces by a distinct sound into story.
Let's get our jugular ripped out by the story.
All right.
Let's get drowned by a siren.
Story.
Let's get slinked by the story.
Oh, fuck! Slinked! God damn it!
Damn it.
Damn it!
Let's get tased.
No, slinked.
Slinked. It
Well,
looks
no.
like a fucking slinky.
Yeah.
Oh, the...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds like it, too.
Yeah, that's why every time it happened to Harry on his playthrough. By the way, go check out Harry's playthrough of this on Twitch. It's the entire thing. I'm there for most of it, commenting over and over and over again about what's happening and making fun of Harry, and he's making fun of me, and it's just an all-out fun little video that we did.
You search Twitch, Harry R. Baus.
Happy Arbaus.
Oh, I'm sorry. Happy R. Baus.
Also, it should be on our YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, no, it is. I
Yeah.
officially, because it only lasts on Twitch for 7 days. I want to make sure
Right.
it gets up there. But that was a fun experience. I think with this game, I could easily sit down, play the whole thing in one sit. So it made for like a really nice video. All right, so let's talk about story. So let's do on the surface first.
There's no story. On the surface, there is no story. There's no
Walk right.
exposition. There's no nitty-gritty narrator or details or anything like that. It's all what you can pick up as you move through the game, like little like hints and actions and things like that. You start to kind of pick up what world you're walking through.
There aren't even written words, are there?
No,
Just some numbers.
it literally it begins with inside and then it ends with the credits.
Yeah,
that's where the wording is. That's about it.
Yeah, there's not one single line of dialogue in this game.
So that obviously makes it unique. It's extremely...
Limbo's the same way.
Oh, well, okay, so it's not that unique.
Yeah, again,
them,
spiritual
but-
successor is a good term for this because it is, it uses a lot of the same things from Limbo.
Right. I think I read some of the same assets even.
Yes.
I found this type of storytelling, even though on the surface there's no story, to be very refreshing.
Yes and no. I mean, it's been done, and typically when games get done like this, people either view them as like very artistic or they turn out really bad. Recently, though, with games like this, it's been on the more artistic side, and it's like a story of how you experience the game. Other games like this, obviously Limbo.
Journey?
But yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Journey is another game where there's no actual story to it, and you're just running and experiencing things. And people's playthroughs on Journey are different. They can be vastly different depending on if you actually see people while you're running or not.
Oh, that's right. You can
and things like that.
It's funny because I was listening to some guy talk about this game, and he was talking about Journey as well. And he's like, there's really two ways you can look at the story with this game. Either one, it is very artsy, and wow, look at what they did with this. Because Journey follows the same thing, Limbo follows it.
Right.
And there's one pedestal you can hold it on that's like, wow, they did something so innovative. Like, we need to hold this game in high praise because it's such an artsy way to tell a story. The alternative is that in the age that we live in with gaming, maybe we don't allow it that grace. Like, maybe they just were too lazy, and like maybe we're not holding it to the standard that we should be holding it to, and just giving it a pass by saying it's artsy is like a farce. It's like when somebody looks at a piece of art, you'd be like, wow, it's so amazing because they did this and that with it. And somebody else could say, well, they only use two colors. It's a piece of shit.
Right.
Like, there's two polar opposite ways to look at the story of this game. Either it's amazing for the way that they tried to craft it, or wow, they did nothing with the story.
All right. So left-brained and right-brained are what you're looking to try to describe. So left-brained is very analytical, logical, based on this, blah, 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 blah. And that is like where you're like, okay, this doesn't have a story, and I have to actually use the right brain, which is like the creative, the, abstract thinking side of my brain to piece together my own story. Whereas the left side is like, okay, this is just a physics engine that doesn't tell an actual story. And then the right brain is like, let's make a story in my head about why this is happening.
I'm just saying, and I don't believe either side is wrong in this regard. It's just how you view this game. You could take one viewpoint or the other.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I actually find myself very, very in the middle when it comes to this game. Like, I see some aspects that are like really fucking like fantastical and artsy and things like that. I also totally see some spots where I'm like, this could have used some sort of exposition and things like that. I had mentioned it to you off air, and I'm just going to say this now. I have some questions that I 100% needed answered that were like context that I needed to make my story that I didn't get any sort of exposition on, and it bothered me and took me actually out of the game. I didn't feel fully immersed when I played the game. As a comparison to the predecessor in Limbo, Limbo is actually driven by its name and the fact that there is an antagonist in Limbo. There's a giant spider that is slowly stalking you.
Okay.
And there's times where you have to run from him, and he constantly, he keeps coming back. So like there is actually like a driving force behind this other than just going to the right, which is like that's where my brain starts to go. It's like, okay, you're just constantly going down or to the right.
Kid in the forest going to the right. Interesting. I have really no problem with the story until we get to the end. That's not really an ending open for interpretation in my mind. It's just sort of like, okay, you become this thing, you get to the end, and then A spotlight on the beach? Credits?
Giant blob.
Well, there's that, but I mean, like even if you had rolled in and you fell and you died and that was it, I feel like that's more of a resolution.
Well, I mean,
than-
I think
than
that's
just-
what happens. I think you're dead.
You think you're dead?
I don't think so.
You think you escaped?
If you guys want to finish going over whatever, because I want to get into. So I've researched like 10 different theories on this game at this point, and I wanted to kind of dive in just a little bit on
Okay.
the one I think is the most reasonable.
Sure. I have a question for the group. As you were playing, what did you start to get like vibes and feelings of how the story was
Yeah.
or the world you were in? Like
that's good.
your very, very beginnings, like, okay, what's going on here? Because I started to get, just personally, like City 17, like Half-Life 2 vibes with the oppression, I guess, and just some of the looks. I just, what different like movies and games started to like fire in your brain as you were moving through this?
So I do like that, and I think what we should do is kind of collaboratively talk about that, and then Harry.
Yeah,
get
that's
into your
fine, that's
theory,
fine, yeah,
'cause then I'd like to follow it and kind of pick at it.
Sure. No, absolutely.
When I first started the game, I wanted to know, and this is where it took me out from the beginning of the game. Straight up, like I lost my immersion in the beginning of the game. It came back, at certain times, like a lot of like the moving through the water with the submarine and the chick with the hair, the thing with
Mermaid,
the hair,
siren,
the mermaid
whatever you
siren
wanna call
thing. Yeah,
Could be an experiment too.
yeah, failed experiment or successful experiment because you don't really know what
Yeah,
they're actually
true.
going for
That's
here.
true.
I wanted to know what he is running from in the beginning. You're being chased through the forest right at the beginning of this game by dogs, by people looking for you with flashlights. You're being aggressively chased until you hit the cornfield.
I don't look at it as a chase.
But literally within the first few screens of the game, you
Yeah.
jump over a barbed wire fence.
That's a break-in. You're trying to break in. You're trying to get inside. That's how I interpret.
Why
the
would they?
beginning.
Why would
okay.
they
No,
chase?
I'm not-
But here's my thing. Why would they chase you to the right? Why would they chase you towards that? They would keep you away from it. Just the way the layout to me
Okay.
looked. It didn't look like a break in. It looked like a break out at the
Okay.
beginning. That's how I like interpreted all of that. Because they're actively following him in. You would think like if you're being chased away or kept away, people would be coming from that place to get you, and they're mostly coming in from behind you like they've been looking for you, and this is like the end of it. Because as soon as you hit the cornfield, they really kind of stop looking for you, and then it's more of like spotlights and keeping your head low inside this factory. It seems like to me it seems like somebody on the run at the beginning that finds this weird fucking place.
There's no wrong answer here.
Right,
I'm not,
exactly,
I'm not,
and that's
I don't
the-
want you. Don't take it personally if I like try to debunk or give you my devil's advocate kind of idea here. But like the way that the world works, where it starts in a forest and then it's like a farm, and it slowly goes from very rural to more industrialized.
Yeah.
Like I sort of see that as a, like if you were, I don't know, if for me, like if you were on the run, you'd be running away from industry to the rural area, not the opposite. I don't know if that is a convention that I'm just used to in movies and games. Like if something happens in the city and you got to escape, you have to get into the woods, not go from the woods into the city. I don't know. I from the beginning I saw it as this kid like, okay, I need to get somewhere, and that's sort of where it is, not on the run from. And I know that they're looking for people, or it doesn't. To me, I didn't take it as they're looking for the kid in the red shirt. Okay, they're just like, oh, here's
They're
here's
security scanning the perimeter or something like
right,
that.
sort of okay, here's someone who's not being controlled. I got to kill it.
Yeah, see, to me, I just thought with like the lethal force and them
Yeah.
trying to just kill him, it didn't seem like them trying to. And I guess this is just based on how I like view our world. Is like, a cop never gets out of the car and immediately starts shooting. They pursue. They have reason to, follow somebody for a long time before they finally use lethal force. These people just kind of roll up on him and start shooting immediately. To me,
Yeah.
that seems like it's the end of a chase, and he escapes a chase because they chase you far inward to the cornfield and the farm, and that to me is like, okay, if it was a break-in from the outside, wouldn't they have raided you ahead, and wouldn't you have gotten any resistance coming from? You know what I mean? Like, so that's all the stuff that kind of made me feel. But like, I want to know why he was running. I want to know why, and that like that is, I think that's the crux of the game is why. But also like to be given nothing at all in terms of context or what the goal is bothers me. Look, I'll be completely honest. I went on to PlayStation. I was going to play it on PS4, and I saw it was $20, and then I found cheap Steam keys online and bought it for way less because I knew it was going to be a small game, and I had watched Harry already play through it a little bit, and I was like, look, I already know what I'm getting into. I was like, it's not going to be the game for me.
I thought we'd get to this later, but I don't think it's a $20 game.
No, I don't think so either. I think it's way too expensive.
I'm going to wrap that into my final thoughts.
Good.
As well.
Harry,
sorry. I watched Harry after I had gotten halfway through the game. I had gotten to the submarine part.
Okay.
Before I started watching you, so I caught up and like I watched you finish the game before you hit the submarine. But like I had watched a video on it. I saw it was $20, and I was like, holy shit! I thought they gave this away for free at one point. I think they did on PS4. And then I was like, I remembered it was only 3 hours. I was like, $20 for a 3-hour game is like really something I can't swing right now. So then I just found it cheap online.
Harry, how did you interpret the beginning?
I actually don't have anything to say on the beginning. I
No?
think you guys basically covered that. A couple things that jumped out at me, though. It can almost be like a symbolism, I think, given with our current...
Geopolitical climate.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. That's actually the term I was looking for. Like this controlling of the minds kind of thing. It I don't know. It just shows like our government at its worst or something like that. But there's other like things you could pick out. Like you see a couple people here and there, but in the majority of it, there's a lot of absence of people. Do you see one single person on that farm? Absolutely not.
No, you see like a pig.
You
It
see a
seems
pig that
like
has
a
some kind
tapeworm.
of like leech thing or something that's controlling it because it becomes docile when you remove that leech. So something tells me there's a couple things going on in this world. First of all, something devastating happened to this planet.
Apocalyptic.
Post-apocalyptic, that a lot of people are now out of the picture. So bad that it depleted the economy and the workforce, and now they had to make drones to kind of fill that void in the economy. And now they have these figures that they can control to keep some kind of society sustained.
Who's buying cereal if everyone's a drone?
I like that theory, and like that's kind of what I like. That's kind of what I agreed to once I was in depth. But also, we have no idea what is on the outside. Like again, it's like one of those.
We only know the inside, guys.
No, that's okay. So look.
Shaking my head over here.
Look, limbo. You didn't understand. Like everyone understands what limbo is.
Yeah.
You didn't understand what limbo meant to the game until the end. Inside could be the exact same thing, talking about what is inside the tank at the end of the game. What I'm saying is like this, like post-apocalyptic and stuff like that. All of that stuff is only inside of this facility. If we're thinking about anything past the barbed wire fence and back, yes, but it could be a compound that just has tons of experiments. It could the whole outside world could be fine. This could all be just inside of this compound. They could be testing sound weapons. They could be testing, like...
I think there's more going on than just that. Like, I think this is a wider spread thing than... The other thing I would also notice, and this would kind of get away from maybe it being so central, but notice, like, the water levels. A good portion of this game is underwater, because I think something that... With this devastation, I think water levels rose and things are sinking into the ocean. At this point. Like, look at the different levels of the facility. Some of them had to be abandoned because they're underwater now.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
they built up. So something tells me, like, there's a lack of population, water levels are rising, there's some kind of infestation, maybe something similar to, what was that fungus?
Cordyceps.
Like, something like that. I'm just saying, just ballpark, not saying specifically that. But there might be something like that going on.
All dog breeds, except for Dobermans, exist in this world.
Only
They've been
Doberman.
eradicated. Only Dobermans are now bred.
I don't know, just a couple things that I picked up on. Because something tells me, like, those helmets that you wear to control the drones.
Yeah.
I don't want to say they're zombies because I don't think that's the correct term to use for this game. So we'll just call them drones until...
That works for me.
But it almost looks like a work helmet. Like, you need somebody with a conscious mind to run these...
So it's a metaphor. You're the foreman.
Yeah, you're the foreman to the
Maybe
drones.
not a metaphor, but actually, like, legitimately that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, they create these non-conscious beings that have to be controlled, and that's how we're sustaining the workforce at this point.
So you see them as being created for that purpose, not humans that were taken over?
Right. So I'm in the middle.
They're grown?
I think they're somewhere in the middle. I think they're dead bodies that have been repurposed.
And
It's very
if,
Matrixy.
if you know, like,
is.
Think of it.
there's these capsules throughout the game. Somebody pointed it out to me in a video that if you do certain things, lights come on in these capsules, but they're like almost like chambers. Like remember from like the Resident Evil movie? I don't know, typical sci-fi movie. They have these metal chambers
Chamber with a
with a
human in
glass
it.
window that you can see the face through the window.
Yes.
Like there's chambers like that sprinkled throughout the game, and you could do certain things to activate lights inside of them and such like that. And it makes you think like maybe they're grown all over the place, or maybe they're bodies that they're just stashing until boom, you broke one of them. Here's your replaced equipment now, or something like that. Like instead of having to fly it in, you already have them on site because you see those helmets throughout the world because maybe certain work needs to be done throughout the world. That these bodies are, whether they're grown or repurposed or what have you, they're on site ready to go. I don't know where I was going with that point. I'm just starting to piece little things that you can notice in the game and maybe somehow form a larger picture of this.
And I think it's almost like the way I view what is on the other side of the barbed wire fence is place where wild experiments take place.
You're seen as like an Area 51 kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like, okay, so yes, they blew up all of that stuff. Like, it looks super desolate in there, but it's because they're, testing drones, they're testing sound weapons, they're testing these wild fucking human experiments. They're testing all of this stuff. They want to keep it away from humanity. So it is desolate because they have created it to be desolate. Like, yeah, okay, so maybe there was an explosion and all of that stuff is underwater. But at the end of the game, when you finally break out of it and you're on the other side of it, because that is how I interpret that. When you finally break free, I think you're out of that facility. Everything is lush, green trees, blue ocean, regular colored sand. It's not ash. It's about as colorful as the game fucking gets, really. But like, how I sum up the story here in my mind is curiosity killed the fucking cat. Dude goes in, ends up as, in my eyes, a dead amorphous blob at the end. And it's because he tangled with the unknown.
So it is a break-in.
In so many different ways. Yeah, but but to me, he's running from something at the beginning.
But he's being chased into Area 51?
I don't think he's being chased or running. I think he's being summoned.
Oh, you think he's being the blob thing is calling him or whatever?
I think it's a hive mind type creature.
So now we're getting into your theory then.
I'm almost like ready to dive into that.
Go for it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I summed up what I kind of thought of the game, so.
A couple other things. So let's talk about the blob real quick.
And this is a theory you developed, or this is a theory that you agree about?
I pretty much agree on this. Now, there's
Okay.
a couple other elements I'm like adding in to kind of build on it, but I like where they were going with this direction for the most part. I hope I don't butcher it. I'm going to try to go through it very slowly, and I can speak on it very generally on like what they were talking about. So the blob thing at the end. Notice how there's all these arms and legs sticking out of it, as in there's maybe more than one entity in that blob. Now, referencing that picture that you have, where it rolls down the hill and settles in the light.
Yeah.
Somebody showed or has pictures online that within the facility that you take over as the blob, there's a diorama of that exact same hill with a spotlight shining in the same place. It's like a miniature version of the ending scene.
So then the whole thing was designed.
Yes, is what we're getting to. So what they're posing is that the whole thing is one kind of game, and that this hive mind thing just keeps summoning creature after creature to join its blob to make it even more powerful, to stretch its...
It's like a giant diorama with trees, a hill, and...
Can't see
and
it
a
with the blob
spotlight.
currently on it, but there is... Well, if you take that blob out, it's the exact same hill, just on a smaller scale. They even had the spotlight to simulate the sun hitting in that exact same spot.
Right.
So it's all like a predetermined thing. So basically, this hive mind, imagine every time it has a being join itself, its hive mind reach expands further and further. So every time it reaches out, it grabs a new being that's going to make it stronger, summons them,
Smarter.
guides them through this whole elaborate thing to join itself. So it's basically helping you along the way. That's why this young kid can make it through all these elaborate traps and dodge all these dogs. And
Is it a kid?
It's a test.
I think it's a kid.
I don't view it as a kid. I view it as like a young adult. I don't see it as like a child.
It's a kid that has not yet hit puberty.
That's
my-
how I would say. I mean, because there's adults in the game, like the guys with the masks in the beginning, like just size differential. I think
yeah, true.
especially all the doctors and everything at the end. Oh, which I also wanted. All those doctors were already looking in the glass capsule at the blob
They were.
before it broke out.
Yep.
As
Yeah.
if, hey, we are expecting this. It's about to hit that point again where things happen.
I like how you can just walk up and look as well.
Yeah, I did. I
And-
did that too.
And like one or two doctors just kind of like looks at you and then goes back to looking at. And you can never move the camera to see more than what the game shows you, obviously. And I was like, I gotta know what's going on in there. Like I gotta keep going.
So all those doctors are already standing around, like ton of them, before anything happens. So it's not like they're attracted to, oh, there's something happening in the tank. It's, hey, it's a part of that procedure again. Get ready if you want to see this experiment play out or something like that. And the other thing is, like as far as its hive mind goes, the siren creatures, the mermaid things that you were talking about, it didn't kill you. It assisted you.
Later,
Later,
eventually,
But the
it
argument
kills you the first time.
the argument there is it just failed to do what it was supposed to. Maybe it accidentally killed you instead of implanting, because it always like drowns you,
Right.
essentially. So maybe it fucked up what it was supposed to do and it accidentally killed you instead of maliciously coming at you. It was trying to help you, just failed until that final one is actually implants you with that breathing apparatus.
Well, I mean, also in theory, you don't necessarily die on the way to experiencing this in one cohesive story. Your character doesn't die. You know what I mean? Like the only reason that she killed you in the submarine is because we fucked up, not because that is what the narrative of the story
right?
is.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. So just taking all that in the light. So then there's the secret ending in the game, which kind of ties into this as well.
Okay.
So the only way...
Oh, I dig it. No, I totally get where you're going with this. He goes in, unplugs all the electricity to the facility, and then slumps over because the entity is dead.
That's a possibility. I wasn't even going there, but that could be legitimate as well.
Yeah, because you're out in the forest. You're out in the forest, and then you have to do the sound codes,
Yep.
which sounds a lot like when you're actually there and the actual like sound weapon. That's like,
Okay. Yeah.
but you put in that code, and then you run over, and if that little code is what is actually causing the palpitations, and then all of a sudden you pull the electricity to the entire place. Because, like, you're so far out that when you pull that giant fucking plug, I mean, it is facing right. It could, in theory, be because it's a giant
But
fucking plug.
Isn't there like a control module in the background in front of some screens, like the one that you put your head into basically to control other things? When you pull that plug, that goes dark, and then he slumps over.
Yeah, everything goes dark, and then he just slumps over dead.
Yeah. So it could be killing the blob. I didn't even consider that. I was considering it as almost unplugging himself. Like, he is a drone. He just doesn't realize it until that moment. And he's like, well, instead of going through the motions and joining this blob that's summoning me, I'm just going to unplug myself. That's the only way I can take myself out of this equation at this point.
They sound both valid to me, and that's
I like the idea of killing the entity.
That's I don't know why that didn't cross my mind before, but it would make sense because nothing's summoning him anymore. And if that it all ties into that original theory that he was summoned because he's under the control of the hive mind to begin with. If he kills the hive mind, but then the argument would be, why would the hive mind make him go unplug the hive mind?
So it could get out.
It wants it all to end.
It doesn't want to be inside anymore.
It wants to stop suffering.
I can't say if that's correct or...
Think about that. They might be observing it because they know it's going to break free, and that's like... Dude, that's like scientists in Area 51 finally making the perfect alien and then just letting it walk out the front doors to see what happens.
Or
that is the nature of experimenting.
It's so dangerous that they assist it to get outside.
Because there is assistance from people to allow you out. So
one guy opens the door, one guy throws you the charged box.
Staged. Yeah, they're like, oh my God, that thing is fucking scary as fuck. Let me just open that door for you. Like, what?
Yeah. No, it makes me think that they're all part of this plan. Like, they know what's going to happen already because it's maybe happened 100 times before. This is my way of helping it get to its destination before we put it back in the tank or something like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
what if the entity is like an egg and the boy in the red shirt is like a sperm, and when he goes inside it becomes something else, and then it rolls down the hill, which is the birth canal?
Oh, wow.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
And then you just sort of end with a spotlight on you, like in I don't
like
know.
in the emergency room,
like as a kid, as a doctor,
seeing the
puts
light
you under the light, birthing a new life form.
I mean, as much story as they put in any sick fantasy you might have.
Is that like the yeah?
I mean, it's all valid.
Well, there's also the alternate ending where it's like that scene at the end, and then you just hear a giant vacuum.
I've pretty much exhausted what I wanted to talk about with the story.
The entity just fucks up the entire facility. Like, everybody, like, people die, the whole thing. Like, they wanted this. They did.
I think for the greater purpose.
All right.
The greater good of getting that blob monster out there.
Yeah.
This could literally just be a physics game, and they thought, okay, cool, let's just have a giant fucking blob with 8 arms and 8 legs running around,
And let the world have fun interpreting it.
Roll into gameplay.
Yeah, let's roll into gameplay. It makes sense.
Gameplay.
All right, gents, we are on to gameplay. Let's talk about this. I don't think it's going to be a huge discussion, but there's definitely some elements in gameplay to talk about here.
I think I wore out the right direction, or actually the D button on my keyboard.
I just want to throw this out there. Oddworld.
Esque. Yeah, for sure. There's definitely some elements there.
I didn't really get that vibe until I hooked in to one of the mind control things and started controlling the drones, and I was like, isn't this like Oddworld?
Yeah, Oddworld kind of uses that same idea.
Yeah.
Well, this uses the same idea as Oddworld. Let's be real.
I want to say minimalist, done extremely well. You have, jump, move, and
Activate.
Interact or activate. Yeah.
But what's good about that, though, so controls are very simple, right? But think about how many different things you can activate and how different they are. It allows for a ton of exploration and just change up with very simple controls.
Yeah, it's just an interact button. Like, you don't, it's not like you're not looking for a button prompt either.
I do like
what if the pulse is how the entity is controlling people? I want to go back to the beginning of the game and see if you can faintly hear
now,
pulses.
if you notice, there's all those radio towers in the background of the pulsing.
It's like pushing the entity signal out.
You guys are having fun now.
I don't know.
I'm not even joking at it. I'm still prodding at what is the true story. You could just keep going deeper and deeper. Pick into a drone, which hops into a drone. It's Inception.
Droneception.
Droneception.
Blobception.
2 levels? 3.
Let's go to level 5.
So yeah, I did like the subtlety of how the interact button would change. Like, okay, here's a vent grate. I can lift that and walk through, or it's a different design. He just rips it off, or it's boards and it doesn't necessarily appear that you can get through it at first, but then you rip them one at a time until he can slip through. All that is just brilliantly done.
Yeah, the puzzles are really cool. It's some platforming, some actual puzzle solving, which is
Timing.
nice. Timing games, things like that. I have to say though, I think the smoothest thing in this game is how they use 3D, because you're not on just a single line when you're moving left to right. There's depth to that. What I mean by that is, if you're pushing a cart, for example, you don't have to jump over the cart and pull it to go one way. You can actually, like, you sidestep and you kind of go past it. You have to actually grab onto it and pull it with you. But you can do it from the side, you can do it from the front, you can do it from the back. Push, pull, drag. I think that is really fucking cool, and a lot of games don't do that.
That's
like
true.
They're like, you have to be on the left side or the right side. You can't jump into the foreground a little bit parallel to the object and then interact with it as well. I thought that was actually like super refreshing, and I like how they just casually, like, okay, you can just see it in the character model, like he touches it and moves to the side and then like goes forward a little bit, or like that kind of stuff. The small little attention to the physics of the game is incredible to me. That's actually what I really, really liked about it. I'd love to get these physics in like a sandbox and like actually like just see what kind of crazy shit you could do. I'd love for them to like take this engine and like make a physics game.
I think
with
they
it.
released the source code for it. I read online that the source code for the game was released. So doesn't that mean if you wanted to play around with it, you could?
Yep. That is what that means.
There's a different look in Clark's eyes. All of a sudden.
Look at that glistening.
I honestly
Cataracts.
I honestly yeah, exactly what it is.
Can you see me, Clark?
Yeah, Steve, I can see it.
Is it foggy in here? Is it just me?
It's really smoky in here.
There's like a white glow. I did notice that detail and really liked that as well. You said it perfectly. I did catch myself also jumping over the block out of habit, but yeah, if you didn't push the interact button, you could just walk around it. Not a big deal. Specific puzzles, for me, ones that stand out are like the 20-person switch.
Whoa. That was a long one.
Yeah, I started to catch on way too late, and then I realized, oh, you have to use a dead body. Ooh.
Is it dead, though?
Well, yeah.
Might just be sleeping.
Oh, I did want to say...
Or broken.
It's
Probably.
busted.
Probably broken.
I did want to say that the first sort of like, oh no, like I had this decisive moment where I was like, I don't want to do this, was the little chicks and the machine.
Oh God!
Do you think it was going to grind them up?
Oh,
I thought it was
absolutely.
just going to spew fucking chicken guts all over that thing. I was like, oh no!
I was like, there's got to be another way to do this.
I'm not even gonna lie. I think I have a note written down here about the fucking chicks. Fully expected those little chicks to be dead when shot out of the machine in the barn. Pleasantly surprised. That's what I wrote.
You don't want to slaughter innocent little baby chicks in a fictitious video game, but
Yeah, because they're
sign you
little
up
chicks.
for
Like,
chicken nuggets.
I'll eat the fuck out of some chicken nuggets.
Think about it.
Just real quickly, just while we're on the subject of chicks. I saw a funny meme earlier today that was like, why do we call women chicks? Is it because they lay eggs or do they love cocks?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, God.
Sorry, you can get back to your point. Just spur the moment thing.
Chicks are what the entity likes.
No, he can't get back to his point because he was going to, like, fucking preach PETA over here. So
Nah.
let's move on.
I'm done. But I do want to say that one really stood out. I was really worried. The 20-person switch stands out.
Oh, one thing that stood out to me, too. I didn't realize that it was a leech on the pig.
I thought it was like an intestinal worm or
I thought it was
parasite.
its tail.
Oh, I did think that.
I thought it was its tail, and I just was like, why am I, no, oh God, and just, yeah, and then you just fucking rip it off, and I was like, what the fuck? What kind of fucking game am I playing right now? That stood out to me as like, okay, cool, like, just totally tortured an animal.
Actually, so right around the farm, I started to get some North Carolina vibes, and I just want to throw this out there real quick that apparently in 2016, one of the hurricanes caused a lot of flooding in North Carolina, and there's thousands of pig farms, and there's like a serious like manure and fecal just like in their fresh water, like all over. Like North Carolina is like fucking decimated just from the industry of pig farms, basically. And walking into this in that game, and like the whole, like I started to think, like, because you're walking through water, and I was like, oh man, this is like North Carolina simulator. This is just gross. Yeah, sorry.
Such a weird
simulator.
That's a weird thing to say.
North
I know,
Carolina
but
simulator.
seriously, look it up. And I'm not saying that because I have anything against North Carolina. I'm just saying, like, there's like this serious problem where there's flooding and just feces in fresh water. So on that note,
Yeah, I don't know how to come back from that.
Yeah. We could probably go into graphics.
no, come on. There's got to be another puzzle that stands out to somebody. The elevator threw me, actually.
Which
The elevator slide into the water. I didn't see the door that you can lift up to get out. Like, you go into an elevator and it breaks and it falls.
Harry died there once too.
yeah,
Once.
I did.
I died there like 5 times. I didn't. I had to look that one up. It's the only one I had to look up.
What, that you have to like pull the door open?
Yeah, because I didn't see it, and I didn't have enough time to realize what was going on, and I tried mashing that button everywhere except the part I needed it to be, and you just lift the door and walk out, and I was fine the rest of the game.
You swim out, but
Yeah, swim out.
Yeah.
the
You're underwater, Harry. Sure. Wow.
I think the puzzle that really stood out to me was the pulsing puzzle,
Oh, okay.
because that one felt the most intense.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'll touch on this in sound as well, but like the way it just felt intense with that sound, and it was just like, and when it
You're talking
gets
about
you,
the moving part specifically, where you have to control.
I'm just talking about that whole sequence, because
Okay.
it's all about timing
Oh yeah.
for everything on that, and there are certain parts where you can't just like run to a safe zone and then stop.
Yeah.
There are some you have to run through a safe zone to get to another safe zone, or you're fucked. And it just, that was the part where my hands were getting really sweaty, just like with how intense.
My hands are sweating.
You even said that a few times.
I think I mentioned it
Yeah,
on
no,
the stream.
so-
I can see him. Oh, my
he
hands
said-
are sweating.
No, he was like, "Oh, my hands are sweaty," and I was like, "Mom's spaghetti?" Question mark.
So that's what it was.
Yeah,
I was
and
like,
then
what?
and then you were like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, you're referencing that song, like a fucking."
Vomit on a
50-year-old
sweater
man.
already.
Yeah.
Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes the entity. Oh, there goes the dog.
I don't know. As a whole, that part in the game sticks out more than any other part in this game, and not just for that puzzle, but because of the sound, because of the look.
Because you were like,
I know,
because of the sound, because of the look.
Yeah.
You gotta lose yourself in the moment. The moment you own it, you better never let it go. Maybe you just start busting out a fucking rap.
Oh, that was good. That, and I guess the gameplay with the blob, because that kind of just changes all the physics of the game at that point.
It does. It was pretty cool.
That was. I want to say that was the game crescendos to reaching the entity's like chamber, and then once you break through the glass and start attacking this, like that's all the denouement. I think they call it, or denouement, like the rising action of the story, and then that's like hey, here's the fun part, kind of.
Oh,
kind
crescendo
of.
is like a musical reference.
Right, that it rises, but then also
I think what they did really well gameplay-wise with that section is you become this massive blob that looks very heavy. The way that the character model moves at that point makes it feel like you're heavy and powerful. And like, you get to that door and you just rip it off, but the way you like stumble over things just shows that it's not very agile and it has all this weight, that it's shuffling very quickly. That they did really well with the physics of that blob at the end.
It seems like a force. Like it's just like
Yes.
an unstoppable fucking force. But it's also gelatinous, and it like
True. But
Yeah.
it felt right. Like using the controller, like they nailed it like right on.
it felt like controlling a moving wave.
A little bit.
Like you just crash into something, and then there's
Or
like
if you
a
want
little
to
bit
turn
of
direction,
feedback,
like you
and
still
then-
got that momentum going that
Yeah.
one way and
Yep.
everything.
it's a big Jello mold with arms and legs
Yeah.
sticking out.
It's like a gelatinous blob instead
Yeah.
of a gelatinous cube.
Mm.
I almost made that reference.
cube. I
No.
enjoyed the submarine.
Oh yeah, that's
Moving
Yeah, it was
around
pretty
in
cool.
that and using it to break open doors and walls and shining the light to keep the siren away. But that's not really a puzzle or anything.
Speaking of that, before we move on,
Gameplay though.
again, just change the dynamic of the game once again too. But what was good was they didn't repeat puzzles over and over again. They were all unique in their own little way.
I think they added on to them because, like, originally, like, one of the fucking puzzles was just like that pull ripcord thing where it like shoots you up, and then
you jump over to that ledge.
Right, and that was like a puzzle in itself because you're discovering how to use that, and then all of a sudden you're juggling like 2 or 3 of them at a time, and you're like, oh, I have to fucking rip this one, get up here, fucking press a button to stop it from over here, and then that shit is fucking awesome. Like they took their puzzles and they just kind of slowly built on them, and I thought that was really cool.
No, I agree.
Enjoyable, made you feel good, but you solved it.
Yep, I like games that do that. Like they kind of give you that slowly build on a mechanic over and over and over.
But it would have been just so easy for them, and I'm glad they didn't take this route. But it could have been easy just to like almost copy and paste and just make a minor tweak just to like fluff up the game a little bit. But they didn't do that.
Right.
They stayed very original on each individual puzzle. Thank you.
Yeah, they didn't add. I want to say they didn't add filler. Like the game is as long as they wanted it to be, and the puzzles like nothing felt tired.
Still not long enough.
For $20.
The game is long enough, just not at that price point.
Right.
Yeah, replayability. I don't while we're in the gameplay section, I don't think it's really there. And that's awesome if you want to go back and do the 13 things or the orbs, I guess is what they call them.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if that's for everybody, and I don't know if it's worth doing for that secret ending when you could just YouTube it really quick. I don't know if there's enough incentive to play through this game again.
Fair enough.
For some people, absolutely. Like the people that like getting the 100% in Donkey Kong Country. Like I think Steve would go back.
That's
and do
you.
this.
Right.
That's not me. That's all I have to say about gameplay, though. Let's get on a box, pull a ripcord, and launch into graphics.
Sure.
Yep. Let's see
yes.
It's right.
Yes. Let's do that.
Graphics.
Graphically, I think it's this game's strongest bullet point.
I would agree. I don't think it's graphical in terms of like horsepower, like technical graphic power, but like the art, the style and how they execute on the use of light and the use of depth of field and how they seamlessly blend the background and foreground and middle ground all together when they need to. Like, you have these elements that you see develop in the background, and then you get past another point, and that's then you're either in the foreground or something from the background is now in the foreground, messing with you. One thing that really stands out to me is like when you're climbing over that one fence with the dogs, and you have to run over and like pull a board or two, and then run back to the fence, and the dogs run around. They keep going from the background.
That's a cool puzzle.
Yeah. It's just a really cool little moment, but it shows the depth of what they went for with the graphics.
That really does stand out, though.
Yeah, it does.
Just that a whole loop around.
Or like when you have to bait that dog.
They're like the same puzzle.
You have to stay at the bottom of a ledge, and it runs up to you, and you have to jump up, because if you jump up to it too quickly, it skips going down there, and it'll just catch up to you. And then rip your fucking jugular out.
So they're kind of the same puzzle, and that goes back to what we were just saying about how they sort of grow onto them. Like,
right.
Like, I see that as an evolution. The one with the fence is an evolution of that first one. And it took me a couple times, and I was like, wait, so, okay, I can trick the dog, and that gives me enough time. So
well, the dog's really the first puzzle. You need to know that you have to move to get away from the dog. You can't just, like, stay stationary or get a, like, it'll be fine. It's the first time you have to deal with, like, an enemy in a puzzle.
Right. We didn't talk about this in gameplay, but there are definitely some moments where it forces you to die to learn that you need to make. It forces you to die in almost a cheap way because you don't know what to do and you don't have enough time to figure it out. Like being attacked by the dogs or the sound effect. Like I didn't know the sound was going to kill me outright. Like I guess I should have realized when that first wooden box you push out gets completely decimated by the sound. Like I just feel like in general the game forces you to die in order to know what to do. Graphically, you're absolutely right about the background and foreground. And how many moments did you guys want to like push up to walk back into the background? I like had to stop myself multiple times. Even late game, I was like, I just want to walk back there. Like I would just be pushing up, trying to go to it. And I was like, oh, is there another route? Or I thought, oh, okay, that looks. Maybe I can go back there and there's something there or here. And like gameplay things that you think about gameplay things that you do in other games, I thought, oh, the game will work this way, and it didn't. I really like the art, like you said, just to reiterate. The art's great. I want to say I like the lack of color, and the fact that the boy wears like the red sweater. It kind of makes me think of like Schindler's List. I don't know if you guys got that at all. I'm not saying
Nope.
not saying that there are like Holocaust or any kind of concentration camp overtones in the game or anything, but like just a kid in a red sweater makes me think of Schindler's List, and all the colors are very muted. I guess that's supposed to show like the oppression of the world that the game exists in. But this kid's like a red spark. I don't know, and you are obviously different from everybody else. Yeah, the design of the freaking entity or what do they call it? The potato
I don't know what
husk or whatever with the limbs, just like so freaky. And yeah, definitely made me think of Akira. The lighting, the way everything's lit in the game, like the way the stealth works, it's gorgeous. I have like 300 screenshots in this 2-hour game that I saved on my Switch playing it because they're just like, oh, that's great. Oh man, that's great. Oh, here I've got like 15 drones like pushing me up this ledge. It just, the whole thing, I just want to look at it all day long. It's a beautiful game.
It's mainly shades of gray. Like 99% of the game is like 50 shades of gray.
That's a child you're talking about, Harry.
Jesus, Harry.
But I like how they pop
Harry
the color.
really liked the bondage play of the amorphous blob.
Oh.
All those hands and feetsies.
Not a lot of things pop on color. The chicks pop on color.
Yeah, they're very yellow. Stand out.
I can't think of anything else. I do to build
The
on
helmets. The helmets are like neon orange.
Yeah, you're right.
And the numbers for the number of
Any sort of
drones.
neon.
Yeah.
To build on the shadow effects that they had in the game, a lot of their puzzles were built around the shadows.
Oh, and the light.
When the light thing, the slinker would go over that tube and it would cast the shadow, and if you had to stay in the shadow to stay hidden, and it would move back and forth based on its direction the light was shining from. And I thought, not only are they utilizing shadows to a great extent in this game that looks absolutely amazing, but they're incorporating them into their puzzles in the game. I thought that was really amazing that they did in this. Sorry, something I want to mention before we move officially into sound. There are moments in this game that, yes, we see the background is like very awe-inspiring, but there are times when they want you to stop and look at these as well. And I mainly mean that there's one very deliberate one, but when you're transitioning from the woods to the farm, you kind of cross over this road, and boom, you see the sun shining through this hazy fog with like just scenery in the background. You got like your farm off to the one side and the edge of the woods and the other. Just like, it's like a picturesque scene and there was nothing going on. There wasn't any puzzles in that immediate area. It was literally just to travel across the screen. I think they wanted you to just absorb a little bit of that.
That's their storytelling.
Shall we blast off into sound?
Twang.
Music.
Again, I want to go back to that pulsing section of the game because there was a little bit of music. Actually, no, I'm incorrect on that. The pulsing was part of the music in that section of the game.
Why are you yelling like that?
Go back and listen to that scene again. The pulsing sounds like it's like part of this musical score that they're trying to play at that point in the game. And it fades as you're falling into the water at the very end.
I think it's very like melodic and very like dark trance type of music.
I agree, yeah.
And I think that plays into that being the entity's call.
Puts you under a spell.
No, like so they say people that like enjoy trance and EDM and stuff like that, it's because their brain gets excited by the frequencies that they're using in the music. Like that is like an actual like scientific thing. Like you're drawn to certain types of music based on how your brain interprets the frequencies at which the music is being played. Not everybody likes like crazy fucking guitar riffs, but like the people that do, it's because your brain just has this like, it just is like tickled by those frequencies that they're hitting, and like at the rapid pace or the slow melodic pace of it. I think that's a very interesting like it does start to sound like music. The more, because it kind of speeds up a little bit as you're traversing through it as well, just a little bit.
I don't know about the pulse, but maybe the melody that's playing in the background.
Yes, yeah, like it starts actually, like it's very subtle tonal differences, and then as you start going, it starts actually getting a little bit lower and higher, and it's actually changing keys and things like that. I thought that was like really interesting, and that playing into that being a synapse that it's shooting off, or a synapse that it's shooting off, like trying to get people, draw people in as a signal, like that's interesting.
Unconfirmed, by the way, but
yes, unconfirmed. Again, that's just like the
but
theory
a very
we're
valid
kinda going
theory.
with.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the sound effects and like the little shuffling of feet and like just how the blob sounds and things like that, like, you know, the sound effects are really well done. They fit in. It doesn't seem like there's any like sort of delay or like it's, you know, they seem very organic and natural, like the actual, like an actual physical object, if that makes sense. Like, if you run into one of the desks, it doesn't just explode and then play, you know, exploding desk MP3. It's like scoots over a little bit if you just touch it. And like stuff like that, like, not all games do that. Some games are like, oh, you touch this thing, it explodes, play this fucking MIDI and be done with it.
I should have called this game Details. I actually think that, I remember you had said, Harry, that there's like no music to the game, but I feel like having heard that, I was listening more whilst playing, and I put my headphones on, jacked it all the way up, and wanted to see what was there.
Whoa.
all
Just
over your Switch?
Yeah, all over my Switch.
You jacked it all up all over your Switch?
Man, you guys were like right on cue, both of you. Like, did I make a joke? Okay.
No, we're making fun of you.
Yeah.
Jerking off on your Switch.
When it comes to the music, a couple things stand out. You mentioned the Sonic Attack or whatever.
They don't call it Joy-Cons for nothing.
Ha! My Joy-Con fits directly in my... Yes.
USB-C port? That's sad.
Ooh. What you guys didn't mention was the rhythm game part, where you get pushed into the line of drones that are just walking, and you have to move at the same time, and you have to turn and jump. Like there's like a beat to that, a rhythm to that.
But it was I kept counting out 13.
Oh, really?
Because I wanted to make sure I hit it on cue. And
It was
like
9, actually.
13.
You were counting to 9.
Was it 9?
Yeah.
Maybe it was 9.
Yeah.
And then 10 would be the...
Because I was going to... Yeah, because then 10's the action.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if you could...
I was going to tease you about it. Because I was going to start just typing in numbers.
Oh.
Because I know you can't multitask, but you like really try real hard while you're streaming. So I was just going to be like 2, 5, 9,
Shit!
11. I was going to start throwing like 11 and 12. You're going, I wanted to see you get slinked. Get slinked, son.
I wanted to see if you did it perfect, if the dog wouldn't come after you. So I gave it a couple tries, but you could almost never get it just right. Or at least I couldn't. Did you guys play around with that at all?
No.
Okay.
I tried to just get through that.
Yeah.
I appreciated it for what it was, but I didn't really feel like it was like... I thought like maybe one check would have been cool, but like doing the whole like thing, I just wanted to like sprint out of there as quick as I could.
I feel that in the game,
dogs get you, by the way.
Yeah, the dogs.
The dogs always get you.
When the siren is coming at you, you have to like barely escape her several times. I feel like there's rising music there to sort of build the tension.
It's just a single tone, though.
Is it? So if you like overcome a puzzle or you enter like a new area, I feel like sometimes they would give a more positive notes and themes, or just a more uplifting sound rather than an oppressive sound. When you cleared that, you get a little gratification from that through the music. Overall, I think it's very moody, atmospheric, and fitting. The lack of any kind of voice, really, other than the entity going like making all those weird sounds.
The regular drones would make like almost like moaning noises.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
you know what is the best sound in this fucking game? When you jump down the mine or the elevator shaft, break your legs, but then the 13 other drones follow and just flop on the ground right behind you. Sounds like you're just throwing a bunch of pancakes at the floor.
Oh my god, that's what they did.
maybe that's how they generated that sound effect.
I like when the blob is going like full speed and it's just all you hear all the feet just like.
Oh, speaking of the blob,
Boom.
this is the one sound that really stands out to me at any point in this game, and they only use it once. That first door that one scientist shuts from the blob, and he puts down this metal gate, and you run up to it, and you start ripping the bars
Oh, yeah.
out of that gate, and it's like this high-pitched screeching metal noise that sounds incredibly eerie, like straight out of like a horror science fiction movie. Like, I don't know, that sound was very creepy, but it was super intense.
Also, when you flatten that one guy, slink our way.
Let's get inside
Yes.
our final thoughts.
Oh, no, we're slinking our way into final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
I think this game leaves you with a lot of questions. And originally when I came to the table, honestly, I was like, all right, I have this burning question, and I didn't think highly of the game, like because of the story and stuff like that. However, actually, after we've been talking about it and stuff, I have like kind of turned a corner on the game. I thought I wasn't going to like ever like even remotely think about this game again after we were done with it. I was just going to be like, okay, it was an all right game. I actually kind of dig it. There's a lot more to think about than I initially thought listening to all of us kind of talk about it. So I really enjoyed it. I think I like the theories and the symbolism more in the game than I actually liked playing it again. Like I might actually like sit and like watch some playthroughs and like see what I can pick up more so than actually just going through and playing the game again. But I think it's worth playing at least once. I think everyone should go out and play this game. Harry?
Yeah,
You good?
I don't have too much to elaborate on that. This is where I wanted to tie in that thing. When I went to download this game and I saw that $19.99 price tag, I was like, I think that's a little steep for what I'm getting.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I 100% agree with you that $20 is too much for this game.
Yeah.
This is a $9.99
Yeah,
game.
Yes.
absolutely. That would be a perfect price. $9.99.
It goes on sale quite often. So, like, if you see it for, $10, pick it up. It's totally worth $10, not 20.
Not 20. It's just the replayability, like I said earlier, I don't think it's there. So really you're getting a less than 3-hour experience for $20. You can buy a single pass or a single ticket to the movie theater for cheaper than that to get less than 3 hours entertainment for nearly half the price.
Right.
Granted, you're not buying popcorn and taking a date and having to
$4
pay for a
water.
ticket. And yeah, $4 fucking water. Fucking movie theaters, right?
What is up with movie theaters?
What is up with that?
Seinfeld, goodness.
I'm just saying that they're
Too highbrow for you, Ralph?
No.
You want me to just talk
Just
about
surprised
masturbating more?
Yeah, please. I'm surprised you both like Seinfeld. Anyway.
I just boiling it down, like across all forms of entertainment, there is an acceptable price point per hour worth of entertainment, and I think this exceeds the price tag exceeds how much entertainment value you're getting out of this game. Other than that, though, visually, I think this game is top notch. I'm not saying graphically it's better than a lot of games, but the artistic direction that they went with makes it a very unique experience. And I like the underutilization of the sound, because then when sound does happen in the game, it really stands out to you. Story-wise, there's that ambiguity that's there, that if you're really into that interpretive type of storytelling, 100% this is the game for you. But if you like a very immersive story, you might want to avoid this. And I guess just as a complete package, it has some bullet points that it really excels at, and maybe some that it falls a little mediocre on. But nothing that I think is exceptionally terrible here.
Well, guys, it's a tough act to follow. I do want to say that I think the game is a Rorschach test, and I came up with reproduction. I don't know why. That's what I see, at least partially. I haven't played many indie titles, and for me, this is like a gateway drug. I feel like now I want to experiment with more.
You gotta stop. You gotta stop. You gotta stop. You're making it too easy.
I really enjoyed this game from start to finish. I enjoyed the journey that you go on, and I really liked, I'm going to say almost everything. Like, I really like an ambiguous ending. I really liked the art. I liked the sound. You know, I'm reiterating here. You guys killed it with your final thoughts. I'm looking forward to their next title whenever that is, and it'll probably have a single word title.
Probably.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Limbo, Inside.
As quickly as they started on their next project, there was a big time delay there.
Project 3.
Between 2010 and 2016?
I think it's a small group. I think it's less than 10 people worked on the game.
6 years is a long time. Not by Square Enix titles.
Don't
but
get me started.
Yeah.
No, I think they're on my radar at this point, though. If I hear them come up again, I think they're worth checking out. I think I'm going to probably go back and check out Limbo at this point.
Limbo's good.
Are we ready for scores, gents?
I think we are ready for scores.
All right, let's roll down a hill into the light and talk about our scores.
The score.
I'm going with 89.
I'm going to go with an 8.0, which is going to tie with Mass Effect and Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I think it was a memorable experience. I don't think I'm going to forget playing this game.
I'm going to give this one mindfuck out of one Tetsuo amorphous blob.
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up.
Damn it. I was just about to do it. I was like,
So I'd like to thank Mr. Andy Hess out there. This was his submission to the poll.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Andy.
Andy.
I know you've been wanting to hear us review this game for quite some time, so I hope you enjoyed the episode. Get another title ready for our next poll then.
You know, it's nice to play a poll game that is enjoyable.
having our last
Nice
couple
to-
poll games, like,
Sucked?
Stay tuned, guys. Next week, we're going to have an awesome new Mubbers for you guys, followed by our exclusive review on Metal Gear Solid 2. I know you guys have been talking about this one for quite some time.
hell yeah.
Hal, I miss you.
It's
I
time to-
miss you.
Time to bring back
Hal.
Solid Snake.
I almost
don't
sounded like he was
remember?
about to break into song there, didn't it?
Purple rain, purple rain.
All right, guys, cool. And because Steve's not here, we're not saying I love you tonight.
I love you.
Fuck. Fuck.
We've managed to avoid drowning.
Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over.
Thanks for listening to Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Stay up to date on our Facebook at facebook.com/superfunpodcast.